The reaction of most Kenyans to the extension of restrictions in Kenya over the virus was predictable. Many Kenyans are angry. Many Kenyans have despaired. Believe it or not, for many Kenyans, it was the final straw. But for our show today, let us focus on the consequences. Now, let us agree on something before we go any further. Even if all restrictions had been lifted yesterday, the damage on the economy and the lives of Kenyans has already been done. In my view, an already terrible situation has just been made worse. So, what should we expect going forward? Now, we have already talked about a lot of these things on this channel before. Number one, a very dramatic increase in crime. Millions have lost their livelihoods. Some of them permanently. For instance, in the tourism industry, which employs a vast number of Kenyans. Number two, a dramatic collapse of big, well-known Kenyan companies, which will lead to even more unemployment. More Kenyans losing their livelihoods. A dramatic increase in the breakup of families, and violence in the homes. We are already seeing this, of course, but it will get worse going forward. I predict that many years from today, people will be talking about how they survived as a family the virus crisis. How the family almost broke up, but God intervened. Number four, a dramatic drop in property prices and rents. Rental houses in big cities are going to become very affordable, but there are going to be no tenants. Landlords are going to be involved in aggressive marketing of their empty buildings and houses. And indeed, this has already started. There was a very interesting ad I saw somewhere where somebody's advertising. Every tenant you bring in, you're paid 3,000 shillings commission for bringing in a tenant. Number five, there's going to be massive exodus to the rural areas, away from the urban areas, migrating to the rural areas. This is the opposite of what has been happening for decades. Even people with the means, as we call them in Kenya, wealthy people, well-off people, will eagerly look for ways to migrate away from cities to rural areas. And we will see some previously sleepy towns emerging very rapidly and suddenly becoming very prosperous, and of course making instant millionaires from nothing. As the population in those previously rural towns grows dramatically over a very short time. Number six, many more Kenyans will have multiple wives. It will be much more common to find a Kenyan with 3 or 4 wives. Now, we already saw quite a number of socioeconomic factors driving this even before the virus. But what has happened is that the virus is accelerating it at a very high rate. Number 7, we're going to see huge, unprecedented food shortages. You have the money to buy food, but there's no food to be purchased. And I expect to see this kicking in a major way in the next 4 to 5 months. Which will lead us to number 8, the emergence of the prosperous farmer. Until now, if you walked in somewhere and you were introduced as a farmer, people would look at you funnily. A farmer? Where do you farm? But going forward, when you walk in anywhere and introduce yourself as a farmer, there'll be respect. The picture on most Kenyans' minds of a poor rural farmer trying to eke out a living, barely surviving, is going to vanish forever. Number 9, there's going to be an unprecedented boom in domestic tourism. The Kenyan tourism industry, which most people have already held a funeral for and buried, is going to resurrect and surprise and shock everybody and boom like it has never boomed before, based on local tourists. And the advantage that local tour operators are going to find, which they will be pleasantly surprised about, is that local tourism or domestic tourism is all year round. It is not seasonal, like the previous setup where we relied on tourists from abroad, from the West. And number 10, there is a boom coming to local manufacturing and industry, unprecedented. Kenyans are going to be horrified when they discover very soon just how much money we were sending abroad to buy products that can be manufactured locally. Kenyans will discover that in fact, before the virus, we were exporting millions of jobs, and rendering our brothers and sisters jobless. Now, those are just 10 of the things which come to mind, which we should expect post-virus crisis. I am sure there are many more which I'd love for you to share in our comments area below on this video on YouTube. Add value here and help our brothers and sisters out there to be able to prepare for the brand new, very different country Kenyans will wake up to post-partial lockdowns. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.